I'm Mark Seifter.
And I'm Linda Zayas Palmer.
And this is Arcane Mark.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Build an Item Workshop 6, Lord of Build an Item Workshop, in which we will once again build an item
workshop.
Yes.
Yes. So, as will surprise no one who has built other things in our workshops, we must start, as always, with a concept. So, if this is your first workshop, yeah, we start with the concept. You don't have to when you're building items or monsters or other things in your game. There are lots of things you can start with, but it turns out when you're building an item that is built by everybody in chat on Twitch, that a concept is a good place to start, because you could wind up not knowing what you're doing if you start from anywhere else. So this is the part where people just put in any concept for an item on the side, and basically, once you put in all the concepts, we'll have votes. We'll pick which item we're going to make. Sometimes we wind up combining the top two if we think we can. And then we make the item. So that's about it. Generally one of our simpler episodes over here. And if you want to see any of the other items and other things that we made before, I know a lot of you know where to find this, but it's the Discord, tiny.cc/arcademark, which will take you to the Discord link. So,
alrighty. Yeah,
I'm just kind of saying things but you guys are free to put any ideas and concepts into the chat, like as I explain things or say things at any point in time. So, Steven from Roll for Combat has a concept that is idea and concept here. So it seems like it's an item whose concept is the fact that it, basically its concept is the fact that it takes concepts or other concepts and ideas into the item.
So this seems like it's somehow int-based.
Maybe.
Or related to thoughts, related to recollection, related to understanding.
It may have variable abilities depending on what people's concepts are. Alright, so let's see. PD Levers says a concept for an item that is basically an action economy booster for an item such as a healing potion. Okay, so that is definitely a concept, is an item action economy booster. Let's see. Hida Owen says a magic item that is related to attack roll spells. So that's probably not one we should do, since if it's a fundamental math increasing item, then those either exist in the game or they don't, and the game's math is generally built around them.
So we have idea and concept here, the taking Steven Glicker far more seriously than he wishes to be taken.
Kitty Levers points out that for the concept of the action economy booster on the potion, it probably has a limit on what kind of potions you can use with it, based on the, based on probably, it's like minor, you can use a potion up to this level. Major, you can use a potion up to this level. Alright, so Intoxicated Illithid says, an item based on the idea of dual-wielding wands. Alright, yeah, a concept can be anything from a mechanical concept to a high concept. Yeah. Let's see, so Nicole says...
What?
Nicole says a brooch that makes it impossible for you to carry weapons or partake in physical violence, but makes it easier to amass a following. May have curses. Hida Owen says Wolverine wand claws, which may be similar to the dual wielding wands.
Following.
So the Wolverine wand claws may be the same as the dual wielding wands.
Curses.
Not sure.
Is Wolverine wand claws the same idea, or is it a different one?
And Zathos says the fun.
The fun.
Okay. More clarifications potentially on the potion item that could be related to healing potions, but not like invisibility and haste.
I'll put Wolverine wand claws in as the other one.
Rico says consumable magic disguises.
Consumable magic disguises.
Steven from Vocal for Combat says Mantis Claws from Cyberpunk 2077, the ones that spring from your forearms. Oh, the fun was a offhanded comment. It was not a concept. Rex Liquid says an Ankh of fire blasting.
But it's fun to take people far too seriously.
An Ankh of fire blasting. That could be like related to Saren Ray, for example.
I need to get the Mantis Claws in first.
Okay.
The Mantis Claws.
We're getting more in here.
Spring from your forearms.
Mm-hmm. So we've got the Ankh of fire blasting.
Ankh of... How do you spell Ankh?
A-N-K-H.
A-N-K-H of
fire
blasting. That's one of those words that never looks like it's spelled correctly to me.
All right. A cloak used in a way similar to a shield that you kind of hold in your offhand to deflect attacks or magic missiles.
Shield
and maybe to hit enemies.
To deflect attacks or magic missiles and maybe to hit enemies.
Alright. So that looks like what we've got. Explosive runes!
Explosive
I think that was from
runes.
the fact that I was sneezing. Not from an item, Linda.
Well, you know what? Just tell me what to put on this
bless
list.
you also I think was from that is not an item that is personal.
Are you sure that
bless.
Are you sure that it works okay for me? Zathos is not an item.
I mean, we could make an item that works okay for Rico Zathos. Hat of the Mysterious Stranger.
Hat of the Mysterious Stranger.
And then we have an item related to the Wendigo.
I pressed enter because I ran out of... I hit my character limit.
So item related to the Wendigo.
Related to the Wendigo.
And then, oh wait, one more. Item that lets you throw a non-throwable weapon.
Lets you throw
a non-throwable weapon. That could be cool. So there we go. Let's do that and just, that's it. There's 11.
All right.
That's a lot of choices, so
two?
you can vote for 2. Vote for your top 2. Mm-hmm. Just put down the 2 numbers into the chat. We will collect them all while supplies last.
Gotta catch them all.
That's right.
Pokemon.
And we'll see what is going to happen. All right, Linda, was 1 and a 6.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of interesting ideas here. There's a 3 and an 8.
A 3 and an 8.
And we will make whichever item we wind up with seeing as being the most popular out of these items.
We have 1 and 10.
Right now is, if you let the internet vote, it might be idea and concept here.
We have 5 and 9.
Yep. So, Linda, as you continue tallying up these votes,
11.
you can still see them, right? I'll just talk to everybody so that they can hear. So what we're going to be doing after this is there might be a runoff vote, but then we're going to figure out like what level the different items the item would need to be. We can figure out at that point sort of exactly what it's going to do based on the level and the concept. Oh, and Steven wants to know, what did we get for our holiday gifts? Well, we got some washcloths, and
we got
a tea cozy that Linda thought was a hat. And she,
oh my god, that was the greatest.
She thought it was a hat that had like a hole in the back for a ponytail.
Well, because it really looked like a hat, and it was a tea cozy, and I
also thought it was a hat.
Yeah, no, my mom knitted it for me. And I
didn't know what a tea cozy was.
I do know what a tea cozy is. I just didn't recognize it. We got a mystery game. I got a new purse and a bunch of accessories to go with that. We got some spices.
Some extra Steam games.
Tupperware. We got some Steam games. We got
some shirts.
Yep. We got a lot of good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Pretty exciting. All right. So, Linda, do you...
what did you get, Steven?
Steven got a rock. He already said.
Oh, he got a rock.
Rico wants to know if you're a house elf.
I am not a house elf.
Aha. Intoxicated Illithid is wondering if we've ever mentioned how we came to work at Paizo. Yes, there is an episode of Arcane Mark Asks Mark, and Arcane Mark asks Linda that is about interviewing us, where we interview the other, and
Yes.
it has that information. I think one or
Mine
both of them
mine at the very-
Linda's
the-
is at
is
least
definitely on
is up on
YouTube.
YouTube. I think mine was later because we wanted to wait because I was the design manager for a while without the official title change until like some people from finance came back to sign all the papers, and so
But we were both big
we didn't want to talk about it until then, and so we did the interview later.
We were both big Pathfinder fans in our home game, and also we played quite a lot of Pathfinder Society beforehand, and we both did some freelance writing as well.
Yep.
That's the super short version of it. We'd be happy to chat with you more about it on the Discord as well if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see any more votes coming in. What is it looking like?
We
is it
have
looking like 6?
Six
It's looking
is
like
winning.
6. All right, but I feel like
And 9, and so the ones that have at least 3 votes are 1, 6, and 9. And if you
Okay.
want to throw in the ones that have 2 votes, then we also add 10 and 11.
So what do you think? We could just do 6, like Mantis Claws that spring from your forearms.
You know what? Those sound cool.
I mean, those are pretty cool. I kind of like the idea of Mantis Claws that spring from your forearms.
Let's do Mantis Claws.
Normally I would go to an item level next, but we need to be like pretty serious about something before we decide the item level, which is this Mantis Claws we spring from our forearms like some weird utility thing that we're gonna spring out of our forearms to do something that is not this is our weapon that we're attacking with, or is this our weapon that we're attacking with?
You won this time, yeah?
You got it, Steven. The Mantis Claws. People thought they were too awesome. So, like, I can vaguely, like, maybe see Mantis Claws springing from your forearms not being your main weapon, but it seems really likely that they're your weapon.
It really does feel. I see it. There's something from it. Yeah, Intoxicated Illithid could be a bit of both. Could see some having usefulness for like climbing or something like that as a secondary feature in addition to combat. And Apollo-Scene agrees with both.
Okay, so here's what we should do then. I like that climbing idea, Intoxicated Illithid. So what we should do then is we should. Basically, we can turn these Mantis Claws into an effective scaling weapon. So first of all, they pop out of your forearm, right?
Yeah. So they're probably so if you have weapons that you're carrying around that pop out of your forearm, people who just look at you on the street with that aren't going to be able to tell necessarily that you're armed.
It's like Wolverine, so it's probably going to come on top of your hand. So it would essentially be like either a weapon with the free hand trait or more like an unarmed attack in the brawling group, and it doesn't use up your hand to fight with. So based on that, if we look at some of those that you can normally get, then it's definitely going to be hidden because it's just hiding up in there. So it's probably going to be like.
Is this going to be agile?
So we've got a gauntlet is 1d4 agile freehand simple. So maybe this thing is 1d6 and it's agile freehand. It's martial. Because I'm not really thinking about it as a thing
like an
that
advanced weapon?
Or no, just martial.
Yeah.
I'm not really thinking about it as a thing that's just like the simple weapon that's like a
Yeah,
peasant
no,
is
totally
like,
not.
I know how to fight with Wolverine claws. That's easy. It would be in the brawling group, and it's essentially a what do you think? Freehand weapon or a freehand weapon or an unarmed attack? So
I guess to me it kind of feels like it's more about to what extent does that weapon become a part of your body.
I think now that I'm looking at it, it might be a little much if it's a D6 agile freehand. I'm not seeing any freehand weapons that go up to that point.
Especially because this guy's hidden.
Especially because it's hidden. So maybe it's just a D6 freehand, since the strongest freehands right now are D4.
Oh yeah, and that makes it more different. So it's not agile.
It's not agile.
You gotta have strength to use this kind of thing.
Yes. And it Intoxicated Illithid says maybe it has twin. So it could be D4 with twin, potentially 2, although and then some extra stuff. Like maybe that's it. Maybe Illithid has it. Maybe it's D4 agile twin. So you fight with 2 of them. It is agile, but when you do with both, it kind of is like a D6 because twin puts it up the damage to be more like a D6.
That's perfect. Thank you. All right.
So like that's pretty cool. I like that. So, but the point is that this is actually a magically invested item.
Mm-hmm.
So, you invest this item, you kind of wear it, and it melds into you. It can't be really seen, so it's essentially as the concealed trait from the Advanced Player's Guide, which Sword Cane has as well, right?
Yeah.
Because nobody knows that you have this, which is that... Oh, no, that's the concealed condition. But there is a concealable... Or maybe it's concealable. What is that?
I don't remember.
Yeah, concealable weapon trait, which normally gives a +2 circumstance bonus to stealth and DC to hide or conceal the weapon. But since this is, like, literally inside of your arm, maybe it's, like, super concealable and it gives a +4. Because, like, who's going to check your arm for a mantis claw that's inside your arm? So,
bonus. Conceal its presence.
Yep. And so you're going to be able to put fundamental and property runes onto this. And that means that some of the levels that is at, well, really the base level is low, but you put, and people on the chat have given us a bunch of things that may be like special property runes that can only be inscribed on the mantis claws.
Oh, yeah.
So, you could have potentially special property runes like, the one for climbing, where it basically just, it gives you a climb. You have to have both of them, and they're probably a pair, where another thing about it is that you invest it once. You don't have to invest twice. You get them both, and you don't need a ring of, whatever the dual twinning ring is, right? Because, it hits both of these things. And
so when you invest this linked pair of mantis claws, they meld into your forearms.
Right. And it gives you these 2 twin weapons. And then it would give you basically the one that is the climbing with the claws one that people were talking about in chat would be a property rune that gives you a climb speed, but it requires, both of your hands and the claws to be extended and out to fight with them. Let's see what else we've got here. There were some other really good ones. There was another one that might be, Weezka says maybe grappling. So that's pretty cool. Let's give it another, like, special property rune that you can have just for these things that, like, adds the grapple trait to it.
Yeah.
And then also says that,
that's the grapple trait.
Adds the grapple trait and does a D6 extra damage to a creature that you've grappled. Because you can really, you can really mess them up once you've grappled them if you have that grappling rune. That's the second thing that rune does. Because just the grapple trait is probably not a lot.
So is that like anytime you attack a creature that you have grappled, you do a D6 extra damage? When you strike?
With this weapon, right? Kind of like how flaming does D6 fire damage. Alright, so let's see. I think we got a lot of the sort of weird specials. People are talking about maybe it hurts you when you pop out the claws, but I think since you invested it into your body that it can probably pop out without hurting you. You don't have the same healing factor as Wolverine. You could add the damage to yourself, and honestly, it's not going to be a big deal one way or the other if it's a small amount like one, just for cool factor, but... I'm going to break the tie for our version just with the ease of bookkeeping that, like, it's easier to not have to remember to reduce the 1 damage and then feel bad later. It's like, oh, yeah, right, I forgot the 1 damage. And Intoxicated Illithid says, yeah, absolutely Intoxicated Illithid. So it should be a 1-action activate, interact, activate, pops them both out. 1 or both, your choice.
Activation.
And Intoxicated Elephant said the one action interact is you pop out one or both of your claws. Also, if the creature that you're like about to attack or whatever, it doesn't know that you have claws in there, you can immediately attempt to feint against them.
Oh yeah.
That's basically what Intoxicated Elephant was saying, right? Because it's like they're like, what? And then you make them flat-footed because they don't know that you had claws in your random back of your hand. So that's sort of, and then there would be a one action interact activate again to put them back in.
So you can attempt to feint them as a free action?
Just say like you feint them. You don't have to say whether it's a free action or not.
Them.
Yeah, because it's within the activation.
Oh, right, it's part. Right, of course, it's part of the action.
Yeah.
All right.
And then the other activation would just be one action interact, like you attract the claws. Let's see. And Hida Owen says there could be magical energy constructs that emerge from your arm or physical structures inside your arm that reconfigure your flesh and bones into gory mantis claws. I was kind of thinking that they mess around with your flesh and bones and or at least open it up and then just sort of pop out. But they could wind up being elemental if you put in like a flaming rune on them. Then the fiery claws come out of your hand. Because they can hold property runes. You don't have to pick the special grapple rune or the special climbing rune. Those are separate. PD Lover says, is it kind of like a magic item version of Dragon Claws that doesn't require a focus point to activate? In a way, but instead of being part of the focus point economy, this is becoming more of the item economy. And so you're paying for upgrades via fundamental and property runes. And so it's sort of a weapon. And you could also make a version of this that kind of does use up your hand that probably does substantially more damage. The part of what's keeping the damage a little lower on these is the fact that like this is just like whatever. I'm holding a shield and like a magic staff or a bow, and I still have these and can use them in any way that I want. So there could be like a version that just turns your hand into a giant claw, and it's not freehand. It does it does more damage than this. Oh yeah, they're still freehand, and they're twin. So this is just like something you have on top of everything else.
Upgraded with fundamental and property runes.
All right, super solid. The fact that it was weapon based to begin with made it a little easier for us to build it, but we went the extra mile by adding 2 new special property runes that it could have, and there were some great ideas in the chat for how the activation should go when it comes to pulling it out and like you could.
So how would you phrase the thing of the fact that it counts as one item for when you're investing?
I would just say that basically that it is one item. Just like bracers of something is one item. It is an item. It should be like this.
So that's automatically
if
true.
we wrote out the full description, which we never do, it'd be like this pair of mantis claws when you invest it, they merge into your 2 forearms, and then it later describes that it gives you 2 weapons that have the twin trait and they share all of the runes. Just like how if you have the hand wraps, all of your unarmed attacks get the benefits from them,
that makes
not
sense.
just one. So one of the key benefits here, though, is that while it's pretty simple and inexpensive to get a doubling ring for your basic runes, this one is going to double your property runes at a much lower level than the higher level doubling rings that you would normally need. But in exchange, it is also it's freehand, but it is also somewhat low damage, and so that is something we'd have to think about if we were making it into a high damage one that uses up your hand, is whether or not getting the property runes on both of them is the right move. Maybe we could like delay the property runes being on both until a higher level that's more around the time of doubling.
So speaking of level, what level is this?
So normally like it's the base item would normally be So what we could do is we can say that it comes with a +1 fundamental rune, because there's some
Yes.
stuff that this does that you wouldn't want to be like, this is a first level
Yeah.
magic item, because it can faint, and there's a few other things it can do. But if you make it a second level item and it doesn't have a +1, you're gonna be like, well, but I'd like a +1. So what if we make it a third level item that comes with the +1, and then you can buy the striking soon enough after that. What do you
So
think?
this +1 weapon can be upgraded with fundamental.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's super concealable, so it's basically got like double of the concealable trait.
So then you said this is third level?
Yeah, so we make
Sounds
it a
good.
third level item. It's a weapon. It's got a lot of things in there. So
And how much does something like this cost then?
so like it's probably near the upper range
of
of,
the
a
third
third
level
level
things,
item
yeah.
because we already know that 35 GP the max second level item just for the +1.
Yeah.
So maybe 55,
55
not
sounds good,
quite
yeah.
60 because we didn't like throw on extra damage dice or anything into it, but
Yeah.
it's still very weapony.
And what about these custom runes?
Now that's the thing. We need to figure out what level,
level
is
are they?
right for
Yeah.
those. So we're essentially giving you a climb speed all the time with the climbing one.
Yeah, the grapple. Excuse me. The grapple one might be easier because it's 1d6 extra damage. That is. Oh yeah. What type of? This is claws. So.
So it's from the brawling group if you're asking what group that's in. So if we compare the grappling weapon to the flaming weapon, so the flaming weapon can do something extra on a critical.
Yeah, and this one conditionally. This one
doesn't do its d6 all the
Yeah.
time, but the flaming can hit weaknesses and resistances. This one you won't have to worry about that, but
Are
you
these,
also
is
might
these
not
like
do the
slashing
damage.
claws? I'm guessing.
So
Are
I
they
mean they're
piercing
popping
claws?
out, so that's a good question.
Yeah.
Because like, what does Wolverine usually do with them? He slashes with them, right? But he
Yeah.
could also impale you with them. Maybe they actually have versatile. So that is a lot of traits.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I was thinking it was a little bit low on traits other than the mega concealable, which is sort of part of the magic
Yeah.
item. So let's give it versatile, whichever of the main one we
Yeah.
didn't give.
Let's versatile piercing maybe because slashing just feels like what it's more likely to be.
And it is invested, which like most weapons you don't have to invest. So the I feel like the grapply one is probably around the same level as the flaming rune because you don't get the d6 all the time, but you get the grapple thing, which is an added benefit.
Yeah, that's right.
Is
That's
more
right.
than just getting persistent damage on a critical hit.
So it could even just cost the same as
It
a
could just
flaming
be
rune.
500 GP, level 8, and then you decide between that and flaming. Whereas, let's see.
The climb speed one.
So, if we're thinking about this, then it's definitely higher level than a wand of spider climb.
Yes.
By a significant amount, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although it does use up one of your property slots on the weapon, which is a significant thing. But a wand of spider climb is just one spider climb.
Yeah.
And a wand of spider climb is level. Spider climb is a second level spell, so wand of spider climb is level 5, I think. Let's see, wand of spider climb. What spider climb? I mean, is that second level? That's what. Yes, it is. So, and also this would not be a wand, so it may be level 6 if it was like a boots of spider climb, like how
Yeah.
winged boots are level 10 for fly, which is 2 spell levels higher. So, it's feeling to me like it's somewhere around like just all the time climb speed
So
on an
there's
item.
also the
Ring of
corporal
climbing.
ring of climbing, which is a 12th level item.
And it also gives you
Climb speed equal to half your land speed.
it also gives you anything else, or that's it. That's it. It's also
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I was thinking of something a little lower because of the fact that but it was gonna be almost that level, but a little lower, and it does use up one of your weapon property slots,
Yeah.
which is
So
normally something that you would use for something that helps you fight.
yeah.
So it's a significant opportunity cost. So I'm okay with it being lower level. Like I was coming around to like somewhere in the 11 or 10 to 11 range.
So
So
what
let's
do
do
you
a
guys- 11?
low cost
10?
11. Low
Yeah.
cost 11.
Oh, low cost 11 sounds
So
good.
1200 GP. All right. Let's see. And there haven't been any other side thoughts here because I think we wrapped this up in
Yeah,
a
I
pretty
think we
neat
did.
little bow. Great ideas from the chat all around when
I'm
it
gonna
came
go ahead
to.
and pop this guy over in the Discord.
Alrighty. Very cool, very cool. So, there we do. We now have Mantis Claws, as suggested by Steven, who won one of the one of the polls, which apparently he is usually never selected.
Thanks for the ideas, everybody.
Yeah, there are some cool ones in here for sure. And this one I think is one of like the most sort of like Timmy super excitement Wolverine Claw option.
It also like isn't quite as much of a Swiss Army knife in its base form.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
Let's do this here.
Tired Taurus says, since we finished this one quickly, can we go for a second choice? Let's see. What were some other ones there? We usually only make one item, but I think that we might be able to make an Ankh of Fire Blasting very quickly. What do you think, Lisa?
Yeah, okay. Let's make an Ankh of Fire Blasting.
Okay. We are going to give a bonus round. We usually don't. We just do a short one but you know, it is the break, and this is not after a long day of work. It is instead just a day. So let's give a bonus option, Ankh of Fire Blasting. I know it was not the second place choice. I picked it because I think we can do it fast.
Sounds good.
This is an Ankh. That means it's held. It could literally be what Kyra is holding, right?
Yes.
This holy symbol of Sarenrae that is also is a woman shaped like an Ankh. And Kyra loves fire. So this should be something Kyra would like. The question about the Ankh of Fire Blasting that we should ask ourselves and then try to figure it out is this an Ankh of Fire Blasting as in, like, I'm blasting with fire anytime that I want, like the Produce Flame cantrip style kind of like, this is my thing now, I blast with fire now that I have this Ankh every time? Or is it something that is, like, occasionally during the day I blast with fire? Or is this something that's like,
I make a giant fire blast.
One time I do some Omega Fire thing with this Ankh, and people are like, what was that Ankh? Oh my gosh. So those three are all going to be a different setup. And Linda knew exactly what the third one was going to be already. So we need to decide that about the Ankh of Fire Blasting.
So
is it a pew 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 Ankh?
Frequent sometimes or like once?
Yeah. So Rax Liquid says once a day, giant fire. That could definitely be cool for an Ankh. It's the one that you pull out when you're like, oh my gosh, I need the giant Ankh.
And now when you're talking about Sarenrae too, that gets me thinking about like fire and also like and holy energy as well. So let's make it actually be more Sarenrae-ish, even though the concept didn't say that in there, just because it's an Ankh with fire. I mean, what else is it going to be? So we'll go with daily, since that's what we have in the chat. So it's going to have an activation that's probably 2 or 3?
It's probably let's give it let's give it two different activations. Let me make sure I'm getting this right for Sarenrae. Yes. Okay, let's give it 2 activations. One of them is a 2-action that is going to do a fireball-ish effect, and the other one is a 3-action that's going to do a wall of fire-ish effect and blast out a wall of fire. So, basically what we're going to do here is each of those is once per day. And
thanks for the gifts, Trippy.
Yeah. So that means in total you get 2 activations during the day. And we'll try to price it at as low as we can by making it the base fireball and the base wall of fire. I picked those because those are 2 of the 3 spells Sarenrae grants to her clerics as special spells. So what we've got is a 3-action frequency once per day wall of fire, a 2-action frequency once per day fireball, 4th and 3rd level. It also is it serves as a divine symbol, a religious symbol of Sarenrae.
Yeah.
Right? And let's call it a 10th level item.
Yeah.
It gives +2 on religion checks. As long as you're like holding and brandishing it, you feel Sarenrae's wisdom within you, and it helps you with religion checks. And to bring back that idea you had, and also like there was a random thing in Pathfinder First Edition Wall of Fire that it did with undead that is not carried forward because the spell is simpler now, but we will carry this forward, which is
Yeah.
that the wall of fire and the fireball that you fire off from this item deal either fire damage or positive damage, whichever would hurt the target more. And normally positive damage doesn't hurt anything at all, right? Positive damage does nothing to a living or a construct creature. But it would damage an undead. So, because wall of fire in Pathfinder First used to be like, it does extra damage to undead. So
yeah, so if both
by,
of them
by,
do that,
by letting it be with either of those, whichever's better, that means if it's like a fire immune undead, they still take all the damage. If they're weak against positive because they're incorporeal, they still take all the damage. But if they're weak against fire, they still take all. It's whichever one is better that happens, because Sarenrae, and that was your idea. Let's see. Ooh, and Nicole gifted again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to see if there's any other thoughts on that. No, people like this idea. That you have choices, and
there's a question of
could be used to heal the party. Now, a Sarenrae theme potentially could, but our concept that we started with was that it was an Anka fire blasting. I think we might be reaching slightly into scope creep with that. However, you could consider that this is the base item and potentially having like a greater version at higher levels that we're not going to stat out completely here since it was a bonus item, but that that is like, it's +3 to religion. It has additional powers. So there could be a more powerful version of these Ankhs that can be found for like the truly most devout Sarenites. Not Sarenites. There's no R in Sarenite. So yeah, thanks everyone for the ideas here of the items. I think that was, we just made that in, let me tell you the prices and the DCs, Linda. We just made that in 10 minutes.
And it does the baseline.
So it's got a +2 skill item in there and a bunch of spells, so it's probably pretty high for a 10th level item, maybe 950.
And and both of them are 4th level?
No, the fireballs is going to be 3rd level. And their DC is 27. We'll just use the baseline. And maybe 950 GP. Yeah, so we made it in 7 minutes.
You said DC what?
Oh, gosh.
27?
I said it before, 27. Intoxicated.
And the cost is what?
The cost is 950. I said it before, I think?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Well, I wasn't quite ready to type what you said.
Aha!
You said it, so.
Intoxicated Illithid says the cleric of my party worships Regathiel. Any item ideas for such a worshipper? Let's see. What was that one that like was kind of Regathiel-ish? There's some kind of like special bastard sword, which is his favorite weapon, Regathiel's, that's in
Gods and Magic?
No, I think Character Guide had one. Did it have one? Let me check in equipment. I have opened Archives of Nethys for Character Guides equipment.
Let's see.
Is it the Crimson Brand?
The Crimson Brand, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
+1 striking, wounding bastard sword that can let you evoke the Crimson Oath. It can be a more powerful thing, and whenever the wielder would inflict persistent bleed damage on an undead creature, it can be ruby energy or something. It says the first was granted Clarith Iomadar by a mysterious patron who many reclaimers believe to be an emissary of Regathiel. So whether that's true or not, Regathiel is mentioned in the item. So that could be a cool one. Also from that book, like, we're going to one book, might as well use another thing. I mean, who would not want the Knights of Last Ball rune serrating that you can put onto any weapon to cause a bladed edge to separate into jagged, swirling shards that spin along like a saw, dealing 1d4 additional slashing damage.
Regathiel chainsaw?
Yeah. Dealing 1d4 additional slashing damage, or if you interact with it, you kind of brandish it, and then it buzzes more and goes to a d12 instead of a d4 on your next hit. So, that's pretty cool. I mean, sure, like, do you often have a better use for that action at high levels than turning a d4 into a d12? You might, but it's pretty cool to manage. There you go. So those are some items that are already out there in the very awesome Lost Omens books.
Alrighty.
Okie doke.
So
Let me
shall
give some,
we give
I
some
will give
XP
some
and
extra
check
XP
the poll?
and check the poll, and we'll also talk about what the episodes are,
Yeah.
but only after we say goodbye to YouTube. Bye, YouTube.